King James II's accession, 1685. James II, a Roman Catholic, succeeded his brother Charles II. Despite initial fears, the succession was peaceful. Growing discontent, James II's policies quickly alienated the Protestant majority. He tried to secure religious toleration for Catholics and dissenters, often through controversial means, appointed Catholics to high positions in the army, universities, and government, infringing upon established laws, expanded the standing army, which was seen as a threat to both Parliament and the populace, attempted to rule in a more absolute manner, often without the consent or recall of Parliament. The final straw. For many years, Protestants were somewhat appeased by the fact that James's heir presumptive was his eldest daughter, Mary, a devout Protestant married to William of Orange. However, in June 1688, James's second wife, Mary of Modena, gave birth to a son, a male Catholic heir, which raised the prospect of a permanent Catholic dynasty in England. The events. The invitation. In June 1688, a group of 7 prominent English politicians, known as the Immortal Seven, both Whigs and Tories, sent a secret letter to William of Orange in the Netherlands. They pledged their support and invited him to invade England with an army to protect the Protestant religion and English liberties. William's invasion. William, who was already preparing for military action against France and saw English involvement as crucial, accepted the invitation. He assembled a large fleet and army, landing at Torbay, Devon, on November 5, 1688. James II's collapse. As William slowly advanced toward London, support for King James II rapidly crumbled. Prominent nobles, army officers, including James's best general, John Churchill, and even James's other daughter, Anne, defected to William's side. Isolated and disheartened, James realized his cause was lost. James II's flight. In December 1688, James II attempted to flee to France. His flight was effectively viewed by Parliament as an abdication of the throne. The aftermath and significance. The Convention Parliament, a new assembly known as the Convention Parliament, met in early 1689. They declared that James II had abdicated the government and that the throne was vacant. The Declaration and Bill of Rights, 1689. The Convention Parliament issued the Declaration of Rights, which listed James II's misdeeds and asserted the ancient rights and liberties of the English people. They then offered the crown jointly to William and Mary on the condition that they accepted this declaration, which was later enacted into law as the Bill of Rights. Constitutional shift. William and Mary were crowned joint monarchs. The Bill of Rights was a monumental achievement. It limited the power of the monarchy and established the supremacy of Parliament. Crucially, it stated that the monarch could not suspend or dispense with laws without the consent of Parliament, levy taxes or keep a standing army in peacetime without the consent of Parliament, be a Roman Catholic. Bloodless Revolution. The event is often called the Glorious or Bloodless Revolution because the transfer of power, despite being an invasion, was achieved with relatively little bloodshed in England itself, especially compared to the English Civil War decades earlier. The Glorious Revolution is considered a watershed moment in British history, marking the transition from an absolute monarchy toward a constitutional monarchy where Parliament held the ultimate power. Duke of York and Catholic conversion, 1660 to 1685. Restoration. The monarchy was restored in 1660 when his older brother Charles II became king. James was given the title Duke of York. Conversion. Around the late 1660s, James secretly converted to Roman Catholicism. This was a major political issue in England where fear of Catholicism was intense. The Exclusion Crisis. His conversion led to attempts by the Whig Party in Parliament to pass a bill to exclude him from the line of succession, the Exclusion Crisis. Charles II successfully fought to keep James as his heir. King and the Fight for Power, 1685 to 1688. Accession, 1685. James succeeded his brother as King James II and the Seventh. His reign was short, lasting only 3 years. Monmouth Rebellion. He immediately faced an uprising, the Monmouth Rebellion, led by his nephew, the Duke of Monmouth, who was defeated and executed. James's harsh reprisal, known as the Bloody Assizes, increased opposition. Religious tension. James sought to grant religious liberty to Catholics and Protestant dissenters through the Declaration of Indulgence and challenged the supremacy of Parliament. He appointed Catholics to key positions in the army, government, and universities, which many viewed as an attempt to establish an absolute Catholic monarchy. The heir, the birth of a Catholic son, James Francis Edward Stuart, in June 1688 was the final straw, as it ensured a Catholic line of succession. The long-term story. The transformation of Britain. The Glorious Revolution was glorious, not because it was bloodless, it was not, especially in Ireland and Scotland, but because it was a non-violent political transfer in England that established the foundations of modern democratic governance. Constitutional and political impact. Parliamentary supremacy. The revolution conclusively ended the Stuart dynasty's attempts at absolute monarchy. The Bill of Rights and later the Act of Settlement, 1701, established Parliament as the supreme authority in the land, a principle that remains to this day. The rule of law. It entrenched the principle that the monarch rules not by divine right, but by the law and with the consent of Parliament. The end of the Catholic monarchy. The Act of Settlement barred any Catholic, or anyone married to a Catholic, from inheriting the throne, forever securing the Protestant succession. Rise of party politics. The political battles of the 1670s, exclusion crisis, and the Revolution cemented the two-party system. The Whigs, who favored a strong parliament and limited monarchy, and the Tories, who initially favored the traditional powers of the monarchy. 2. Financial and economic impact. The financial revolution, the need to fund William's wars, fundamentally altered the British economy. The creation of the Bank of England and a system of government debt allowed the state to borrow vast sums reliably. This stability was crucial to funding a large navy and army, enabling Britain's rise as a global military and commercial power over the next century. Economic liberty. Because the government's financial decisions now required the approval of the House of Commons, which represented wealthy landowners and merchants, these classes had a vested interest in the state's success and confidence in its debts. This strengthened property rights and commercial activity. Third, global and imperial impact shifting alliances. The Revolution instantly brought England into William's anti-French coalition, initiating a second 100 Years' War against France that would dominate British foreign policy for the next century and lay the groundwork for the British Empire. Impact on the colonies. The Revolution was a factor in uprisings in the American colonies, known as the Leisler's Rebellion and the Boston Revolt, as colonists echoed the successful English assertion of their rights against a perceived tyrannical royal government. The step-by-step journey of the Revolution, 1688 to 1689, 1. The Invitation, June 1688. A group of influential Protestant nobles, known as the Immortal Seven, sent a secret letter to William of Orange, stadtholder of the Dutch Republic, and husband of James's daughter Mary, imploring him to intervene to protect the Protestant religion and English liberties. William, a staunch opponent of Catholic France, saw a chance to bring England into his alliance against Louis XIV. 2. William's invasion, November, 1688. The landing. After meticulous planning and being delayed by bad weather, William landed a massive invasion force of about 15,000 men at Brixham in Torbay, southwest England, on November 5, 1688. James's collapse. James II marched his army to meet the invaders, but his support evaporated almost immediately. High-ranking officers, generals, and even his other Protestant daughter, Princess Anne, defected to William's side. The king's nerve broke. 3. James's flight and abdication, December 1688. The escape. Realizing his position was untenable and fearing he might face the same fate as his executed father, Charles I, James II, tried to flee to France. He was captured by local fishermen but was later intentionally allowed to escape again by William. The vacant throne. James's successful flight on December 23, 1688, was exactly what William wanted. Parliament declared that James had not been forced out but had deserted the kingdom and by doing so had abdicated the government, and that the throne was therefore vacant. This avoided the controversial step of executing or formally deposing the king. 4. The Convention Parliament and the offer of the crown, February 1689. The Convention Parliament debated who should rule. While some wanted Mary to be sole queen, William insisted he would not be a mere gentleman usher and demanded joint monarchy. The crown was thus offered to William III and Mary II as joint sovereigns. 5. Royal acceptance and the Declaration of Right, April 1689. Before being crowned, William and Mary accepted the Declaration of Right, a document drafted by Parliament that laid out the key rights and liberties that the monarch could not violate. This was quickly passed into law as the Bill of Rights 1689. The reign of William III and Mary II, 1689 to 1702. The reign of William and Mary was a unique period of joint monarchy and constant warfare, where power was clearly delegated to Parliament.
The Glorious Revolution of 1688 in England had a profound and complex effect on America's colonies, primarily by fostering an environment of greater self-governance and providing a theoretical foundation for the later American Revolution. Changes in colonial governance. The most immediate and tangible effect was on colonial administration. Overthrow of the Dominion of New England. King James II had consolidated various New England colonies, New York and New Jersey, into the Dominion of New England under a single appointed governor, Sir Edmund Andros. This move, which restricted colonial assemblies and levied new taxes without their consent, was widely resented. News of the Glorious Revolution in England sparked revolts in Boston, New York, Leisler's Rebellion, and Maryland, leading to the overthrow of the Dominion and the imprisonment of Andros. Restoration of charters and assemblies. The new monarchs, William and Mary, restored the individual colonial charters and representative assemblies that James II had suppressed, effectively undoing the centralized control of the Dominion. Salutary neglect. In the aftermath, Great Britain unofficially adopted a policy of salutary neglect, leaving the colonies alone to manage their own affairs with minimal interference. This period allowed colonial governments and self-rule to strengthen significantly. Influence on political thought. The Glorious Revolution and the resulting English Bill of Rights, 1689, significantly impacted colonial political thought. Limited government. The Revolution established a constitutional monarchy in England, formally limiting the power of the crown and affirming the supremacy of Parliament. This reinforced the colonists' belief in limited government and the protection of individual liberties. Enlightenment ideas. It popularized the ideas of thinkers like John Locke, particularly the concept of the social contract, which held that government legitimacy derives from the consent of the governed and that the people have the right to revolt against tyranny. These principles became central to colonial political discourse. Precedent for revolution. The successful and largely bloodless removal of a monarch, James II, who was perceived as tyrannical, provided a historical and ideological precedent for challenging and overthrowing an unjust ruler, an idea that was later invoked by American revolutionaries. Long-term significance. The Glorious Revolution is considered a crucial step on the road to American independence. The increased autonomy gained after the overthrow of the Dominion and the period of salutary neglect allowed the colonies to develop strong traditions of self-government. When after the French and Indian War, Britain attempted to reassert tighter control and end salutary neglect, the colonists viewed these actions as a violation of the liberties and rights they had enjoyed since the Glorious Revolution. The principles established in 1688, especially those regarding natural rights, limited government, and the right to representation, became the core ideological foundation for the American Revolution, and were later enshrined in documents like the Declaration of Independence and the U.S. Constitution's Bill of Rights.
The Glorious Revolution is generally considered to have concluded with the following key events in 1689, February 13, 1689. The Convention Parliament formally offered the crown to William of Orange and his wife, Mary, James II's daughter, as joint monarchs. December 1689, Parliament passed the Bill of Rights. This document solidified the political outcome of the revolution by confirming the supremacy of Parliament over the monarchy, establishing fundamental rights such as freedom of speech in Parliament and the requirement for regular parliaments, barring Roman Catholics from the throne. The series of events, including the landing of William of Orange in November 1688 and the flight of King James II, is often referred to as the Revolution of 1688 to 1689. Thanks for watching and loving our history revolution. Please subscribe our USA Revolt channel